Vince Vaughn burst onto the scene with the indie film Swingers, impressing everyone with his incredibly quick wit. And it was that same sharp tongue that we've seen in Wedding Crashers, Dodgeball and Old School. In some ways, Vince has good mate Jon Favreau to thank for his success. The pair met in the football film Rudy and quickly became friends. Favreau wrote Swingers using his experiences moving to LA in his 20s, and he based the character of Trent on Vince. So of course, when the film got made, Jon asked Vince to do him a favour and play the role. The film's success put Vince firmly in the spotlight, with Steven Spielberg casting him in the Lost World Jurassic Park, followed by a lead role in Gus Van Sant's remake of Psycho.
I think it's fine to remake films. You know, in music it's done all the time. Someone does a song, someone else sings a song, someone else records a song. And I never really looked at acting and movies as religion, that it's so sacred. I always thought it was more of a child place, a place to play and to try stuff. So I think it's cool if people do remakes. I don't think you're taking away from the original. Sometimes it's an homage to it.
Vaughn worked steadily, appearing in The Cell, The Prime Gig, and reteamed with his old friend Favreau for Made. The banter between the two was hilarious, with a lot of the film being improvised and Vaughn's now characteristic wit being given plenty of room to grow. Not wanting to be typecast, Vince then played the baddie in Domestic Disturbance.
I always look for characters that sort of have layers to them, you know, and I think whether you're playing a bad guy or doing a comedy, it's just really being comfortable and over-commitment to something, you know.
Old School gave Vaughn the chance to return to what he does best, comedy.
I always liked that sort of, in playing a character, I always liked that sort of energy. I always, especially for comedy, I always found it sort of funny. You know, the guy getting over on the other guy, and just to me was always funny that he would commit and, you know, kind of believe what he was saying, and but it had another agenda. You know, it's just more levels going on, so it's more interesting in a way to play.
Given that Vince was playing a disillusioned, middle-aged guy who starts a frat house to escape his boring everyday life, director Todd Phillips wasn't too concerned about having Vince stick to the script.
I like to improvise, you know, and I think especially if it's done right, and Todd's been encouraging of that. He's very collaborative, he'll take ideas, and, you know, we're all kind of a similar age, so the experience is nice because you feel very much like, you know, you're working with a group of friends and sharing ideas, and it feels very loose.
Vince was now officially part of the Frat Pack, with people like Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson and Will Ferrell. Starsky and Hutch gave him the chance to have a bit of fun with the Frat Packers and to grow an amazing moustache as a criminal kingpin.
It's always fun, you know, to play characters that do things outside the lines, you know. People who are sort of extreme and specific in a way and not traditional. It's just more interesting.
Vaughn loved working with the Frat Pack on movies like Dodgeball and Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy, before he stole the show as the hip-hop talking music manager in Be Cool, improvising much of the urban lingo. He then teamed up with Owen Wilson in Wedding Crashers, which was one of his biggest hits.
Vince is like, you know, you're never gonna get the last word with Vince. He's super fast and glib, and it actually kind of reminds me of working with Eddie Murphy because it's just like really quick, and so I'm not so, you know, being from Texas, I have kind of a slower pace than Vince, so I think hopefully it's a funny kind of coupling.
I gotta get out of here pronto. I got a stage 5 clinger.
Okay, I need some more time.
Well, it's kind of like you're a little kid when you and your friends are saying,
Yeah.
hey, this could be funny, this could be funny. And we just kind of roll with that. And so then when we get to the day, on the day, we would sometimes add to that. But we already had a really good foundation written out of what we wanted to do. But because we started to develop such a shorthand and know these characters so well, new great things would come about on the day. Because it was such a group mind from all the discussions.
And it was like kind of like other movies sometimes that I've worked on. It's like sometimes people don't want to hear ideas, or kind of, you have to kind of tiptoe around people. And Vince and I were always like super open to, like, you know, trying new things and anything.
Keen to get more involved off-screen, Vince took his first producing role in The Breakup. He was co-starring with Jennifer Aniston as a couple coming to terms with the end of their relationship.
I think that the thing with the film is there's such out of Hollywood in this genre, the same story told over and over again. And I think the fact that this one is very different, people aren't quite sure how to process it at first. And I think the movie, like I said, has great elements of really big comedy and then some really heartfelt stuff and complicated stuff. And we're not used to seeing those two things balanced in a film as often as they used to be in comedies from earlier days.
The Breakup was a box office smash and stood out because of its unusual approach to romance and the fact it didn't have a stereotypical Hollywood ending.
For me, coming from kind of independent film, originally with Swingers with Jon Favreau, and then Made I produced with him, we didn't have a lot of bureaucracy or people looking over our shoulders, so we just kind of were allowed to play more and kind of get stuff done. And I think I sort of bring that spirit with me even in the roles that I've played in studio films. And when it came to this film particularly, I have this idea because I really would get set these ideas for romantic comedies, and it always had a really bizarre subplot to it. And I thought, well, relationships are kind of strange enough as they are. Why not have a movie about the demise of a relationship that you can really laugh at with big, hard comedy moments, but then also have a more complicated turn and look at a more heartfelt moment? But I knew that the studios would be sort of resistant of that, just because it's different. And I knew that also in America, critics in that would be resistant to it because it's so very different. So I really was fortunate that I had a good run of luck with stuff, and coming off of Crashers, I thought, well, this is the time now I'll have a chance to take one of these films like Swingers, it's somewhat independent in nature, and get it done in a bigger way.
Vince cast his dad Vernon as Jennifer Aniston's dad in The Breakup. And if you look closely, you'll see him in most of Vince's films.
Well, my father has always been my good luck charm. I put him in Made, and then he was in Swingers, obviously, and so I didn't want to break a good run streak, and so I put him in the movie.
Vince continued to surprise audiences with an unexpected performance in the drama Into the Wild, the true story of a college graduate who gave away all of his worldly possessions and moved to the wilderness.
I think it's a really compelling story to tell. I think the themes of the movie are really universal in that most teenagers kind of ask themselves these questions. What does the world hold for me? What is the structure of it? Does it make sense to me? What are the expectations of my family? How do I feel loved or not? And so although this is really interesting because it's an extreme setting and you find an individual who's really smart and handles it in an extreme way, I think most kids touch on those questions at some point in their adolescence.
Vince has also done the odd holiday flick. First as the troubled younger brother of Santa in Fred Claus. Then as one half of a couple forced to visit all four of their parents at Christmas time in 4 Holidays. The film saw Vaughn's character roughhousing with his brothers and falling from rooftops. And for Vince, doing his own stunts is just part of the fun.
I always joke and say, I like having a stunt man and that kind of stuff, but the truth is I do a lot of stuff and cover it because I think it just makes it funnier. If it's really, they can see it's you and you're the one going through it, then it makes the audience commit to it more. And that being said, if you're not going to see me, I'm very happy to have my stunt man do it. But I like doing that stuff. It can be fun.
In Couples Retreat, Vince was once again trading witty one-liners with his old buddy, Jon Favreau.
The fun of it, too, is that you have the dynamic of the friends, the stuff with me and Favreau that we, talking in the snow room with Jason, it's, that banter with guys and their point of view on relationships. I think we all go to our friends and talk about relationships and seek advice, and so I think there's a lot of relatable stuff that way. In the movie, again, it is a relationship movie, but it's about couples, it's about the group dynamic. It's not about one sort of relationship. There's no scene where they go shopping and you cut like a music montage and everyone shakes their head until they put the right outfit on and then shake their head yes.
Vince drew from his own personal experiences to create one of the most memorable scenes in the movie, a yoga class the couples take as part of their therapy.
I went to a yoga class. I had a girlfriend took me to a yoga class, and I was just kind of really? This is happening and everyone's making it like this is normal and no one has a problem with it. And this gentleman was kind of dry humping these girls, I don't know how else to say it to be nice, and kind of holding their necks, kind of weird. And they were all kind of listening and really wanted to make sure they were doing it well. And I sort of felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. And so I kind of thought in that moment that will be a fun scene to put in a movie one day. And I finally got to do it here with this one. I think anyone who's ventured into this realm of spiritual tranquility has also experienced the creepy yoga guy.
With his razor-sharp wit and rapid-fire delivery, there's no one like Vince Vaughn. And from playing a psycho to cracking us up, he's become one of Hollywood's most powerful and beloved leading men. Stay tuned to Star Picks for all the movies you know and the actors you love. Broadcast in glorious high definition with 5.1 surround sound where available. For more of the best in entertainment news, check out your Movie Network channels. It's altogether better, on screen and at mnc.tv.